Hello and welcome to the sixth lecture of Python concepts, if statement or conditionals. Here we'll learn how to use conditionals, that is, print something or do something if something is true or false. That is, based on a given condition, we'll do something, and if it does not satisfy the condition, we'll do something else. So for that, we use if statement. Now, flashback that in the previous lecture, we have learned for loop. That is, we have learned how to do repetitively similar things to every element in a list, or modify or delete or add something according to our need while inside a loop, so that we can automate the things instead of doing manually. So this is a simple block of code for introduction to if statement. In a lot of the countries, it is permitted to vote only if you are more than 18 years of old. So let's say we have a variable called age, which is 17. So we can make an if, elif, else block to check whether a person is permitted to vote. So we have written a block. The first block is an if block. If the age is greater than 18, we will print that he or she is permitted to vote. Or if the age range is greater than 16 or but smaller than 18, we'll print almost there. That is, he or she is not eligible to vote yet, but he or she will be soon. Else, the number will be too small, so we'll print too young. So when we run this loop, it prints almost there because our age is 17. If we give an age of 20 that is greater than 18, it will print permitted to vote. Or if we print something very small, like age, 5 years of age, then it will print too young. So that's how we can use a block of if, elif, else blocks. That is how we can use conditionals to print something or do something according to our need. And a lot of the times we can use if statements inside a for loop. So that, let's say we have a set of results, the number of points that students have scored in a particular exam. Let's say some has got 33 points, some has got 66, some has got 50, some has a perfect score, some has got 80. And we would like to know how many students have passed, and we would like to report the number of passed students. So we'll write a for loop for point in results. So in order to count how many students have passed, we will define a variable called count, and it will start at 0. And to deposit the number of passed students, we will define an empty string first called passed, where we will actually collect the numbers of the students who have passed. So for point in results, inside that for loop, we will define an if statement. So let's say our threshold points for passing is 50. If someone scores more than 50, he or she has passed, otherwise he or she will fail. So if the point is greater than 50, we will actually count the number of passed students, that is count equal to count plus 1. So the count is no longer 0, it will be 1. And then in the passed list, the empty list, we will actually append that point that has actually passed. So what is happening is that we will go through each of the points in this results list, and we will find out whether it's greater than 50 or not. If it's not greater than 50, we'll do nothing. We'll go to the next element. If it's greater than 50, we'll count plus 1, and we will deposit that number in the passed list. So this will go on for the last element, so that we go through every point. And then at the end, we'll print the number of counts, how many students have passed. And we'll also have print the passed, this list, where the number of passed students have actually accumulated. So if we run this, it's showing that 3, that is number of passed students is 3, and which students have passed. These numbers are actually collected in the passed list. So just to make it more obvious, let's say we have added another student who has scored 15, and another student who has scored 95. So if we run it again, you can see that past students has increased to 4, and also this 95 is collected here. And the concept of Boolean is very relevant here. Sometimes we want to know if something is true or false. So let's say we have a variable called car. I have 8 cars. And if I want to check, I should check it against the value. Let's say if I write car equals 8, then it will check the value of the car against this number 8. And as the predefined value of car is 8, it will return true. If it's not, then it will return false. So that's how we can actually check Boolean statements. I have introduced this concept here because it will come in handy. And we can actually check conditionals without writing any if statement or for loop. Let's say I have a number, an arbitrary number 28, and if we want to check whether it's even or not, so we can actually check it against the definition of even number. That is, if we divide it by 2, it's called mod operator, and the remainder is equal to 0, that means it's an even number. So as this is 28, obviously it will return true. Just to make it more obvious, let's try it against 3. Then it's returning false, because when we divide it with 2, it will not have a remainder of 0. So that's why it's an odd number and it will return false. So that's how we can actually check Boolean statements. And the last block of code we will see today is checking a list. Let's say we have a list of banned users. Let's say I'm an internet provider and I have a list of banned users who have done some bad things, so I have banned them so that they cannot use my bandwidth or internet service. So I have actually collected them in this list, A, B, C, and X. And let's say I have a new user who has not yet been banned. So I have defined it in Y. So I can check with an if statement whether this element is in a banned list or not, so that I can actually exclude this user and permit him or her to use my service. For example, if I say if user, that is this list, is not in banned users, this is kind of an intuitive syntax that you can use in Python. Is not in banned users mean whether it will check throughout this list, and if it does not find this element in the banned list, it will print something that you are not banned. So that's how we can use an if statement to see whether a particular element is in a list or not. So that's what I had to share about if statement. The next lecture will be on a very particular type of attributes in Python called dictionaries, which has so many facilities and utilities, which we'll discuss in detail. Thank you for joining this lecture. I will see you in the next.